Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Am I Doing This Wrong? It is us again. Here we are, Morgan and Ryann, back for another week and another fun topic. Hey, Ryann, how you doing?
Hey, Morgan. Good intro. We are working on the intro. It's ever developing, ever changing. Hopefully not ever changing. It's changed enough. We need to just stick to the same shit. But yeah, thank you for asking. So far, so good. Actually, it's been a really good weekend. I've been kind of like a tourist in my own new area. So that's the cool thing about moving to a new place. If that new place is cool, I guess. But that's the cool thing about moving to a cool place is that you get to be a tourist for a while, you know? You kind of get to like sightsee with, friends or new friends and things like that. So it's actually been really good, eventful week. And yeah, I'm actually excited because I'm almost on our first break for the, winter time. We almost have that Thanksgiving break. So that's nice. So I'm flying high. I'm hydrated.
Always a plus, always good. Always makes that skin glow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, it's good things. I know. I'm sunscreened, I got my sunscreen on. So
as you should. Everyone, SPF. We cannot stress it enough. Nobody stressed it to me. I'm paying for it. I'm white. My skin is, but I look like I'm, well, you can be the two things at once, but I have to do a lot of work to keep my skin up, and it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I wish I knew what I know now when I was a lot younger. And that's all I'll say about that. So
yeah. Wise words. Wise words.
Yeah.
But anyway, how are you doing?
You know what? So we recorded a couple days ago, and you guys have probably, hopefully, already listened to the episode of Masturbation. Yay, so fun. So I had some feelings about this. Like, it really got to me because I was like, I'm an open person. I want to talk about things. I'm comfortable with sharing a lot. But I didn't feel like that episode, I was really putting everything I had forward. And I'm not saying that I wanted I want to tell the world every time I use my vibrator. I'm saying, like, because Ryann and I got off the episode and we talked for a few minutes after, and I just felt like I was in this weird place, and we kind of talked about it, but it really just left me with a lot of feelings. Like, it really opened something up, and I couldn't figure out why I was so upset with myself for not being as open as I want to be. We started this podcast because we wanted to talk about things that people don't always talk about. We're here to examine things that make us feel weird and question and figure out what the rest of the world is doing, so that maybe you can feel like you're on the same page with someone once in a while, Right. And so I think with masturbation, there can be a lot of shame tied to that. And I think it opened up a bigger conversation within myself around shame and how much that has been a really big thing in my life, starting from when I was very young. And so, like I said, lots of big feelings, not trying to bring us down right at the top of the episode. I'm just kind of, trying to explain what I've been working through. So I'm thinking about shame. I'm thinking about how I felt when I was younger. And then I got really angry. And I'm like, okay, so I'm working out all this stuff. And luckily I'm in therapy. So now I can address these from a different perspective.
Right.
But then that anger, fuels into, well, fuck everyone. I'm going to do things on my own. Like, I'm going to show them, and all this cycle that it was so familiar. But thank God for therapy, because I feel like I'm seeing all this in a new light, and I have an appointment tomorrow, so we will have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
But that was just like a big revelation for me. Like I said, I really sat with this for the past 48 hours since we last recorded, and it was just a lot. It was a lot to go through, but I'm happy that I was able to kind of figure out where I'm going with this. Like, I really think I need to ask my therapist about some tools on how to work through this, because I can see and I identify a lot of these feelings, but I realized I don't really have a lot of the tools to address it. And, you know, it comes from a lot of upbringing and a lot of things that I've experienced. And so going into the holidays, like you said, you know, your first holiday break is coming up. And what do people do when they go to holidays? Well, not everyone, but a lot of people go and visit family. And so I was like, oh boy, okay. So now I have all these feelings trying to prep for the holiday season. Here we go. So that'll be interesting. I'll report back. I'll let you guys know how it goes. So.
So let's just say, first of all the support and love and claps to you for being that vulnerable, right? Because the thing about our podcast is that, yes, you're right. We are comfortable with talking about a lot of things, but there are a lot of things, just like most people, that we are going to have reservations about, and we're going to feel, you know, kind of within ourselves like, oh, I don't know, right? I don't know how to verbalize that yet, because maybe we haven't even done that internal dialogue with ourselves. And so there's a lot of topics, you're right, that we have discussed. And obviously something like self-pleasure or masturbation would be, that's basically what the episode was about, right? That it is personal to everyone, and everyone is going to, you know, do that or not do that in different ways.
Right.
And so I think that you being honest with yourself about not being able to talk about that is kind of what our podcast is also about. Not everything is going to be an open book. Some things, even for us, are still going to be guarded. And I think the fact that not that we planned to do masturbation and then a family episode, but a lot of the shame that comes from those things does come from our family and from our upbringing and our experiences with our, you know, with the people around us, right? Our family influences the way that we go about and we like look at life, right? And the empathy that we may or may not have for other people's experiences. And so for me, I definitely had a lot of shame around not necessarily just self-pleasure, but about pleasure in general. It seemed as though like if I was enjoying my life too much, it was like, oh, like you're trying to show off, right? Or like,
right. And you know, that's what I mean. It really opened up like that bigger like realization in myself. I'm like, okay, we're just talking about this one thing, but these feelings for me are things that I have felt in many different scenarios. And looking at it from where I am now in my life, I can just see all these different paths I took because of that shame, that guilt. And I've talked about my guilt in other episodes, like quitting your job, that feeling of failure. And I see how it is manifesting in different ways in my life, you know? And so it just really opened up a lot. And I mean, yeah, it's really interesting.
And you also said something that is really important, just about how it's cyclical, right? These are cycles that you recognize in yourself, about how you go from shame to guilt to anger, right? And then maybe to like apathy almost, because you're like, whatever, I don't care. And not, even though you do care, right? Like you do care,
right?
But you're like,
I care so much that it's easier to just be numb or something, you know. It's easier to like grab a bottle of wine or do all these things that I've done that have become really bad habits for me, like terrible coping mechanisms, as my therapist would say. And so now that I'm in a place where I am trying to work on like healthy coping skills and trying to understand myself, and this isn't to put blame on anyone. I'm a 30-year-old woman. My healing and my experience for my future is in my hands. That's my responsibility. So I'm not trying to call anyone else out. I'm trying to heal what is like within myself so that I can be happy and I can not have that cyclical kind of emotionally draining, you know, situation happen every time I have those feelings, right?
Right.
So.
No, exactly. And I think we'll get into it. I don't want to, I mean, whatever. Look, we have a podcast about talking bullshit. And then I'm like, I don't want to like continue this conversation. Yes, I do. I literally started a has to do that. So, but I don't want to take too long before I let you dive into the episode. But I do just want to mention that, especially with learning our own habits and learning how to cope in a more healthy way, right? Because I think a lot of times for myself, I always thought of going to therapy as like healing those things and like being able to live like a life where daisies popped up when you walked around the,
right. It's
you know,
all like
like
rainbows and
all
unicorns.
right. But the reality is that it's like, no, you're going to always have different traumas or experiences that whether they're from your past or they're from something that's happening now, you're going to have to figure out how to break those cycles, because those cycles will come back, because that's what they are. They're cycles, right? You're going to go through different cycles in life, whether that be in the same year or yearly or whatever it is, right? You're going to experience that again. There is something as like a traumaversary, right? Like the anniversary of when that trauma was around, which we'll get into, obviously, because we're talking about holidays with families. That brings up a lot of trauma for a lot of people. So I say all that to say, let's fucking get into it.
And I didn't want it to be heavy because I knew I wanted to bring this up because this episode is coming out right after that episode, that I just wanted to kind of address that. This episode hopefully will be a little more fun and funny and lighthearted and get you through that stress of getting together with family. You know, it's not always, as Ryann, you know, or as Ryann was saying, daisies and whatever when family events come around. So
we might end this episode crying. So just be prepared.
We might, yeah. So grab your tissue and settle in.
Hey, the new Adele album is out. Like, who's to say what's happening?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So good.
Have you listened to it?
Yeah, yes.
Good, right?
Yes, multiple times.
Wonderful. Same. I'm like, I told you, I texted Morgan about it. I was like, I'm not even a mother. And I'm like, oh, this mama song. Like, mama
right?
I just,
I know. It's so good. It's so good. Adele just knows what I'm feeling. We're about the same age, so it's just right on par. I'm like, thank you, girl, for expressing all the feelings that I have just shoved in a box and put away.
Yeah, we basically have the same life. You know, she's a Grammy nominated artist and winner, you know, got a kid, and, you know, I just moved across the country. So,
well, we both use microphones, so I think we're pretty similar. So
fair. All right, go on ahead. Get started.
Okay, so like I said, we're hopefully going to keep it kind of light and fun and give you some support as we go into the holiday season. So, holiday with family can be hard. So, let's talk about some ways you can prep, squash some of the stress, and hopefully enjoy the holidays. So, first off, I wanted to talk about some holiday movies with dysfunctional families. So we'll see if Ryann has seen these. Maybe if you guys want to watch these and watch other people be dysfunctional before you go and reunite with your own family, you know, stay in for a movie night before you get to grandma's house. So okay, so the first one is Happiest Season. Does that ring any bells? It was on Netflix, I believe, or Hulu, but I think it was exclusively made for one of those. And disclaimer, and Ryann's eyes are going to roll so hard. It has Kristen Stewart in it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I said disclaimer. Aside from our other disclaimer that we are not experts, disclaimer, Kristen Stewart is in this movie, and I know people have a lot of feelings about her. I do as well. You know, I was in for Twilight. I'll admit it. I was, okay?
I loved it, but she was supposed to be a bland character in those movies. I don't know why she carried it into her entire career.
Right. So yeah, other disclaimer, it's Kristen Stewart playing Kristen Stewart. But otherwise, it's got a pretty good cast. Basically, the storyline is that Kristen Stewart is the girlfriend of a girl, and she goes home with her to meet her family, who does not know she's out, or who she's not out to. So they have to pretend to be like friends and roommates. And it has, oh my gosh, what's his name? From Schitt's Creek. Dan Levy?
I don't know his name, but I know
Dan
who you're talking
Levy.
about. The
yes,
dad?
it's Dan Levy. No, the son.
Oh, okay. The son.
Yes, from Schitt's Creek. Love him. David from Schitt's Creek. Everyone knows he's awesome. So
I didn't love that show.
I know you. Everyone really come for Ryann because that show is great.
Or come for capitalism because that show is so, it's like, I don't understand why that show is so good. That's been done so many times. Like the rich family who has to slum it. Like, what is this? Paris Hilton? Like, I just didn't understand. Like, that's not original.
I like the humor. I like the characters. The comedians in it are really funny.
They're funny as people. I don't think the premise is funny though. I don't like.
Okay, that's fair. I like the characters. I do really like the characters. So take from it what you will. So happy season. So Ryann has not seen this one. So let's go to our next one. The Preacher's Wife.
Oh, yes.
I know. I mean,
it's a heartfelt. Oh,
I know, so right? All the feels, tuck in for some Denzel. Like, it's great. It's great. And I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm glad that I found this list. And of course, all of our sources will be in the show notes. But I was like, oh, I'm going to put this on my list this season.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it in a long time.
So I haven't seen the movie in a while, but the soundtrack is iconic, especially within the Black community. Like that soundtrack basically is played in every Black church around Christmas time. Like it's got Whitney Houston, it's got C.C. Winans. It just has like some really iconic people on the album. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Babyface or something produced it, but it is just so good. And like I said, I haven't watched the movie in a while. But I'll be putting it on my list as well. It's one of those because it's usually like on TV. That's where I used to watch it all.
Yes. Yeah. It would come on. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I wouldn't seek it out, but I would always catch it like midway through. But it has been quite a while. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, premise is basically that Reverend Henry Biggs leads a small but troubled family in this music. And I didn't know it was a remake, but in this musical remake of the 1947 film, The Bishop's Wife. So Henry throws himself into work in a New York City church, and his wife and their son suffer neglect at home. And then Denzel comes in. He's an angel, so handsome, creating a love triangle that forces Henry to reevaluate his priorities. So little family turmoil there. Yeah. Great cast.
Very good. Good moral. You know what I mean? Like you end like, that's what Christmas is about. And let me go get in line for Black Friday.
Yeah.
But anyway, good.
Yeah. Okay, next one is This Christmas.
Oh yeah. Chris Brown and yeah.
I know.
It's not my favorite. No, it's not. It's a funny one. You know what? I forget that like Christmas movies are supposed to be corny. So it's a good Christmas movie. It's supposed to be heartfelt and light, right? Because like nobody's like, no, we really don't want to get into the inner dynamics of actual family drama. We just kind of want to like touch on some subjects and be like, but Christmas night, you know, you drink hot chocolate and everybody loves each other again. It's like, well, see you after New Year's. You know what I mean?
Or see you next Christmas. It's called This Christmas because they won't see you next. So right. And this one I picked and I kept on the list because it does kind of have a little sprinkling of like every like stereotypical family drama that might happen within a family dynamic. And it has a great cast. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, this one is 1 year after the passing of his beloved wife. Walter Myers invites his 4 grown children, each of them facing their own issues, home for Christmas. And there's infidelity, fighting siblings, you know, work troubles. And it's a good one that encompasses a lot of struggles that families go through. And like we said, great cast. Next one is The Family Stone. I know. I love this movie.
That is a top tier.
It might be my favorite Christmas movie. And I'm saying that probably overall. Like we lived with 2 girls and Ryan I can't remember if you were a part of this, but when we lived in our second apartment in Santa Barbara,
Okay.
Everyone had a copy of Elf. I didn't, but did you?
Yeah.
Were you on this train? Okay.
Yeah.
So I lived with Ryann and two other girls, and they all had their own copies of Elf, and it was literally on repeat in our apartment, like every hour of the day for all of like November and December. And one of them had it in French, so they just throw on the French copy once in a while. I don't know if you remember this, but I would be like, oh my God, if I have to look at Will Ferrell in tights for like another second, I'm gonna scratch my eyes out. Like, I just couldn't. And I know it's funny, it's good. I'm not saying I hate Elf. I'm just saying that was a rough time for me in that apartment with all the Elf on repeat I could handle. So
yeah, Morgan needs a coping mechanism for watching Elf again. She's like, it just gets me back into that space. I'm like, but I will say, but it's definitely one of my favorites, hands down. But when you're talking about like funny, like genuinely just movies made to be funny versus like actual heartfelt Christmas movies, Family Stone and Elf are like just completely different. Like I watch
100%.
You know what I mean? Like I watch Family Stone like once a Christmas. Like that's like one night that I maybe twice. I'll say maybe twice.
It's a good one. Yeah, I'll watch it.
It's a good one.
I'll watch it more times than that.
Good humor. Yeah, it's got a lot of good humor.
Yes.
But same thing on the it's like on the side of like Preacher's Wife. It's got a good wholesome story still there to like really laugh to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, premise is basically the whole family comes home for Christmas. One of the sons brings a very uptight fiance, and like trouble ensues. There's drama with the family, and she offends one of the brothers. There's I don't know. I'm not good at describing movies apparently, but watch it. We love it. It's a good one. It has a really good cast as well, just like this Christmas.
Yeah.
And last one I want to bring up, I don't think Ryann has seen this, but I like it. It's definitely more in the realm of Morgan movies than Ryann, I would say. But have you seen Krampus?
No. Yeah, wait. No. What is that?
So it's a Christmas like comedy horror.
Oh, no.
It's got a pretty good cast. It's got like Adam Scott. It's got what's her name? From Muriel's Wedding, from The Sixth Sense, the mom. I didn't write it down. I'm so sorry, but
it's okay.
Anyways, basically, this kid makes a wish for his family to be better, and all the in-laws are there and everything. And instead of Santa coming, it's Krampus, which is like bad Santa. And so it's pretty funny, even though it's like a horror movie. There are like little toys that are like these little demons that come alive. It's very like campy. It's a very campy movie. But that
speaking of Bad Santa is definitely one of my favorite.
I was gonna say when I said that, I was like, I know Ryann likes that movie.
I love Bad Santa. That I don't know why I love it nearly as much as I do. I mean, I like what is his name? Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton is funny, but I never thought that he would be in a movie that I like enjoyed that much. But if you're trying to get away from the issues that your family has, I wouldn't recommend watching that. That might actually bring up some triggering things for you. So
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, unless you're just like at a point where you can laugh about things, and none of us are usually there. I usually don't even watch Bad Santa around Christmas time. I usually watch it like in the middle of summer because it's just like a funny movie. But I will say that's one of my favorite Christmas themed movies.
No, that's a good one. I didn't have that on my list, but really the point of bringing these up is that there's a lot of examples out there, and clearly it's a trope that we like because there are a ton of movies about dysfunctional families. So not everyone, maybe everyone, but a lot of people have quite a bit to prepare for the holiday season.
Yes. And also, I mean, that's the thing though, even in these movies, although yes, they are dysfunctional and their families are, doing all these things, they always have the idea that like, but when we all come together for like the theme, the theme of Christmas, like things seem to be solved. I mean, that's not reality, right? Like we have to take them with a grain of salt and like realize that Christmas doesn't have to actually unite you. You can choose to do other things on family holidays or they don't even need to be family holidays. They can just be days that you maybe have off of work, and you want to just relax, because things can get real triggering and really anxiety filled, as we know.
Yes. Yes. That is a great segue because on how we can handle the holidays with family. So big thanks to Oprah Magazine for a guide of strategies to help us navigate the holidays. So let's get into it. Strategy number 1, which I put in some of the same verbiage because I thought it was kind of funny. Okay. Strategy number 1 is give up hope. So yeah. So
well,
what does this mean? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, if this means give up hope as in give up expectations, then I'm all on board.
Yes.
But if this is like, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of on board either way. Like,
right.
But continue.
No, you're right. Exactly. So that is what it means. So we want our families to act a particular way, right? Or just in any appropriate way in general would be nice. Yeah. But that is not always the case. And so it's better to set yourself up to not have those expectations. So that you aren't just going into this mess being like, why is everyone behaving the way that they behaved every year before, right? Like you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, as we've talked about. So give up hope, not in general, not in life, but give up expectations of others. You can really only hold yourself accountable to how you feel and how you're going to let situations bother you. And so that's strategy number 1. Okay.
So,
yeah.
Well, okay. So I will add, I totally agree. And I think that's why Christmas movies are so attractive to us in our modern day society, because in reality, we are finally at a time where talking about mental health and talking about what's actually best for you as a person is much more mainstream. I don't think we have all of the tools yet. I think we're getting there, and we're starting to figure out that things like therapy or coping mechanisms, things that were kind of taboo, honestly, and really just like not allowed because it was your family, and for a lot of people those traditions still run really thick and strong, that it's your family, so they're going to be there for you no matter what. When in reality, being there for somebody is not always the best option, right? Sometimes you need to stop being there for people because they're taking advantage of you always being there. And I feel like with family, that's kind of what is built into a lot of the relationships, is like, well, I can abuse you as much as possible because you're family. You're always going to be here. And it's like, yeah, that's the problem. Like maybe I shouldn't be here anymore because you're taking advantage of that bond, right? Like blood is thicker than water. Well, like I need water to survive, but like, I need both. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And it can feel conditional, right? Like, oh, I'm always going to be here for you. Okay, well, that's not something to like hold over my head. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think ideally we would love if these interactions would include open communication, honesty, and, an open-mindedness to other perspectives. And you're right. We are in a time where that hopefully is the way things go, but not everyone is going to be that way, right? And so if you're the person doing the work, maybe you can lead by example. I don't know. Be honest with your family. I don't know, though. If they're not, then it might blow up in your face. So be careful.
Right. Yeah. Be careful because, I mean, this is kind of it's like one of the things that could be great about having family that will never leave is that hopefully, even when you're speaking your truth, like you said, hopefully it's not conditional on that part, because sometimes speaking your truth means, that might be the last time you're able to speak it in that environment, because you might not be invited back. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, in reality, do we all have the space to tell our racist grandmas and our misogynistic uncles that what they have said to us since we were young is actually really problematic, and we're still learning to unpack it in our daily lives? You know what I mean? Like, do we all have the space to really say that? I would say no. And even if you do, you're probably like me, and you've had to like sever some relationships within your family because you were basically the one to decide, no, actually, I want to tell you about yourself, and I know that might mean we will never speak again, or we'll never be able to speak again the same. You know what I mean? Like that.
Right. The whole dynamic of our relationship is going to change. But sometimes it needs to, you know what I mean? If you are always walking on eggshells with that person, like what does that relationship really look like anyway? You know what I mean? And I do think I fall into that category in a lot of instances. So
yeah.
The holidays will be interesting.
Turn on Elf on repeat, you'll get
right. Okay, so with all that being said, let's get into strategy number 2.
Okay.
Secure boundaries. So if you are going into this event with some stress, some worries, think about boundaries in different scenarios that make you feel comfortable. Are you going to limit the time you're there? Are you going to get a hotel if you're visiting versus staying with family and one of the spare rooms? Renting a car versus relying on family to, provide transportation. All of these fall into the realm of boundaries that you are in control of. So
sometimes, obviously.
Sometimes, I mean, things happen and it depends, different, resources or where you're going. If you're from a small town like we are, staying at a hotel is not just, oh, I'll be up the street at the, Motel 6 or wherever. It's like, oh, I'll be 45 minutes away,
Yeah, exactly.
It's not as easy. So obviously there are some factors there to consider. But definitely see.
And where these boundaries also, I mean, like, also boundaries within conversation, right? Like I do know what I really love about, one of the things that I love about the internet is the fact that we can kind of talk about the holidays with a group of people that we don't know, and we can be honest about what we like or dislike about the holidays, right? And one of them I really love is like the family clapback memes that are basically like, like one example will be like, your aunt will ask you like, oh, is that your second plate of food? And you'll be like, I don't know. Is it your second husband that you brought with you?
Yes. That's true. Yeah. If you need a good Instagram scroll to like get away from your family for 15 minutes, then fucking go do it. Like boundaries don't just have to be a rental car. Like it can be whatever you need it to be. If you need to shut down a conversation because this isn't going anywhere good, like all of that is applicable to this strategy. So whatever you need to do, fucking do it.
Yeah, I know. If you need to get another piece of pie or another glass of cider or whatever is in your cider, maybe go get that instead of answering, your uncle's questions about, why you're not dating anyone yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not dating anyone because I eat too much pie. So I'm going to have another piece because I don't have anybody here with me. So
because I'm single and alone, just like you pointed out multiple times tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let them use it against you. Exactly. Just put it in their face. If you're trying to get at the fact that I'm not dating and I'm lonely, I am. So we can just end this conversation now.
Oh yeah. One of the conversations, I would say it was probably in the last 2 years, was that I don't need a man to have a child. And I was like, when did we have the conversation where I was desperate to have children right now? It was kind of out of left field, but that was new. They've like given up hope that I'll find someone. They're now like, there are other ways for you to make your own family so someone will love you. So
You see, and that's something that you can't even plan for. Like you might have
right. I might have as much pie as I want to, Instagram scrolls, but I didn't get a rental car, so I'm fucked.
Yeah, yeah, there's no shortage of triggering comments that your family can come up with.
Oh yeah. Right. You think you can prepare, and yet they might still have something in their back pocket that you were not anticipating.
Yeah.
And one other suggestion they had for this strategy for setting boundaries was have a friend call you halfway through the evening to provide an excuse, which I was like, this is like a first date move. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, there's an emergency. Oh my gosh, I have to wash my dog's hair today. I totally forgot or whatever, like this is just like
honestly, is there a lot of difference between a first date and seeing your family over the holidays? We might have to dissect that.
That would be a good comparison.
You contemplated going, you're like, should I go again? Am I going to try to put myself in this situation again? It's really triggering.
Equal amounts of stress. Yeah, you're like, am I going to have one drink or am I going to have 10? Like, these are all good points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of the same questions, honestly. Do you want kids?
Right? What are your political views? Do you want kids? Yeah.
You don't need a man for that, right? You don't need a husband. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? Right. And that could be your uncle or your first date. That's what I'm saying. Either one.
Yeah, but make sure they're not the same person.
Not a weird wink wink from the uncle. I mean, that's another triggered thing. That's not what I meant. Let's continue. Just continue.
Okay, moving on. Okay, strategy number 3, lose control. Which I was like, is Oprah Magazine giving me permission to lose my shit? The answer is no, but I got excited for a second because I was like, I'll go off. Let's do this. But no. Basically, you need to understand that you can't control how other people behave or what they say. And so this kind of goes with strategy number 1, give up hope around expectations. If someone's going to say something regardless, you're really only responsible and in control of your reactions and, what happens from your end on the situation, on any situation, on the whole evening.
Right. So I do want to talk about that, but I literally thought when you said lose your shit, I thought it meant act like you lost something. Like, I think I left my phone in the Uber over. Like, I gotta go find it, or like, can somebody help me find an earring? Because that's actually kind of effective.
I mean, that's a subject. Yeah. If people start getting heated, you could just run in and be like, oh my God, the dog's missing, like, and then everyone just shuts up and starts helping look for the dog. And you like go let it out of the closet a few minutes later. And you're like, sorry, Fluffy. Like, thank you.
Right. But we all have a common goal in mind. We're all searching for it. When we find it, we always all feel some type of endorphins, euphoria. I mean, that could be a strategy as well. I'm gonna try that. I'll let you guys know.
Well, yeah.
I'm like on Zoom with my family. I'm like, I lost my phone. I gotta click out of this meeting.
Right. Yeah. They're like, you don't need it right now. You're like, oh, bye.
But I like that one. Lose your shit, although it doesn't mean lose it.
Right. Lose control. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So next one. Okay. Oh, one more thing I wanted to bring up on lose control. Sorry. So obviously it's not just like, oh, my family's so crazy. Like, family you've grown up with, and we've touched on this a few times already, but these are people who have created your environment since you were a child. So you are going into scenarios that might still carry weight with you from years and years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have been deeply wounded by your family, you can stop trying to control them by accepting full responsibility for your healing. So I wanted to
hold on. Say that last line one more time. What was that last line?
You can stop trying to control them by accepting full responsibility for your healing. So this kind of ties into what I brought up before we started the topic. Mm-hmm. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone for the way that my emotions and my feelings around the conversation we had and the things that I need to go and talk to my therapist about,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm responsible for my own healing, right? I can't
Mm-hmm.
control what other people are going to do.
Right. Right.
And so
Yes.
I just think that's something good to think on if you are going in like, well, so and so is always going to make me fucking feel bad for that one thing that happened 10 years ago or whatever, whatever it might be, something
Mhm.
that's troubling you, that's kind of this underlying tone that just sets every holiday event.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control them, but you can control yourself,
Right.
and you are responsible and you deserve healing for whatever that is.
Yeah.
And figuring that out. But yeah, you can't control what other people are going to do. So just let that shit go. I
So
mean,
let it go. Right.
don't
So
let the process of healing go. Pull that in.
yes.
But
Right.
don't go into the holidays trying to control every scenario, because that's just not going to be realistic.
Yes. I definitely 100% agree with that sentiment, with that idea, because I think it could actually help you in a lot of situations. But I do think that with family specifically, it's really tough because unless unless you come from, I mean, no, I won't even say that. Everyone comes from a certain amount of trauma, a certain amount of struggles and situations that led them to where they are, right? Everyone has an experience and a story to tell. And so one thing that with my family, because I've been asked this before, like, how do you still, remain in contact with family that have completely opposing ideas as you? What does that look like? Why would you still commune with these people, right? Why would you still be around them? And the reality is there's a few reasons. I do still have a certain level of respect, not only just for my immediate parents, but I do have respect for people that, made it out of their generation, um, period, right? Because there's a lot of things that it took to get to where they are right now. And I'm not just speaking as like the experience of like Black people in general, or only, but I just mean in general, there's been a lot of things that in the past have been tough for people to still, make the effort to be around family. Does that mean that that's always a good thing? No, not necessarily. But I do think there's something to be said at the fact that like we are able to travel and, go places like never before, right? It wasn't always that easy. And I was actually just having this conversation earlier. So for family, when they were able to actually get together and be in the same place, especially for families that weren't well off, like most of my family on both sides, it really was a special occasion for those people to be in the same place and then in the same room, right? Because they probably lived in different states and they didn't have money to see each other, or different countries and they didn't have money to see each other. So I do think that there's something to be said about being able to come home for the or for the holidays, or gather together for the holidays, because a lot of people do not have that privilege, and a lot of people would like to be able to see their loved ones, however problematic they may be, right? So that doesn't diminish anyone's experience at all. I just say that I do try to come from that understanding, especially with my family, because they weren't always given the opportunity to be able to see their cousins and see their aunts and uncles or whoever that was, right? And so there is something there for that, for those types of people, right? You want to come together with your family for certain reasons. Um, but I do think that a lot of times those reasons are abused in family situations because they know that it's like, but this is the one time of the year that everybody gets to get together. And like, are you really going to be the only one that doesn't show up? Like it's those
Guilt.
layers of guilt, right?
Yeah.
It's those layers of guilt. And so that's where the problem comes in, right? It's not that you can't go in with, your boundaries and all those things. It's just that once you enter that environment, it's something about being around people that you have that history with, that kind of like breaks down that wall for you. You know what I mean? Like I can have boundaries at work because I don't really know those people. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't really have any connection to you outside of this. But even if I know that this was the cousin who was mean to me, or the aunt who was weird to me, or, whatever it is, something about that familiarity, something about that shared experience just like softens you a little bit, and which means that you need to be a little bit, ready to deal with that, because you're more susceptible to things hurting you and getting through,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tough, obviously, I'm not saying that there's like a way to do it right, but it's tough because you're very vulnerable around the people that you have a shared experience with, even if that experience was ugly or traumatic. So,
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And you could take these strategies and, practice them and meditate and manifest and everything and still go into the holidays and be like, fucking A. Like, something can come up, something can happen, someone can get in a fight. Like, there's no foolproof way, right?
right.
If we're doing this wrong, there's probably not one way to do it right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
All we can do is our best. So, strategy number 4 is become a participant observer. So almost any group activity is interesting when you're planning to describe it later to someone who's on your wavelength. So instead of engaging so much, maybe it would be a good tool to sit back and just watch what's happening. And when I was reading the explanation of what this is, I was like, oh, I do that a lot. Because people will start freaking out and getting like, where's the gravy? And I'm like, why are we like scared where the gravy went? It didn't run away, and it's like, well, there should have been 13 settings and there's 12. We don't have enough forks. Like, people are getting like really on edge here. And I just like, I sit back and I'm just like, this is fucking hilarious, but I'm like, okay, these are like my coping like skills in these scenarios, because I know if I get roped in, then I'm going to be like looking for a fork like a madman and feeling like everyone's going to hate me if I don't, So I definitely fall into this category. I definitely practice this quite a bit.
That's a good one. I think I know a few. Look, I'm like analyzing my family. I know a few people that do this actively, and they are always tend to be a little bit more calm by the end of the night. Everybody else is like left, not necessarily in a huff, but they're like, everyone else has gotten into some little tiff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like that has happened so many times, but there's always a few that like kind of just sit back and watch. And, that's going to be a personal choice for everyone, whether you have the restraint to do that, because it's not always easy, especially if it's like, you have somebody in your family that you particularly know will say the things that they know will kind of rile you up and kind of get you going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every family has those, the antagonizers that, just want to say things, just want to pick at you. Still on that Weight Watchers. Oh, still, there's always a few. And it doesn't even have to be something necessarily exactly about you, but it could just be something as simple as, because you're already on edge going into the situation, right? And so you're already a little bit full of anxiety, a little bit full, of all these other things racing through your head. And it could be a simple comment, like you said, like, I gotta get more gravy on that, or are you gonna leave any for the rest of it? Anything little could set you off. And so recognizing who is where, right? Who plays what part in your family could actually be really helpful. Kind of observing and kind of taking a mental note, like, okay, you know what? I always recognize that every time I come and sit by you, that you're going to ask me something about, my professional life that I don't want to talk about. You're gonna, interrogate me on my dating history, or you're gonna, you know what I mean? If you kind of have those mental notes about people and maybe watch a little bit more, you might be able to, kind of predict like, I might not want to sit over here, or, you know what I mean? And I might actually want to maybe like go into this room later. Maybe I'll help with clean up later so that I can at least just have something to do. You know what I mean? Something.
Right. So. Yeah. And this wasn't on the list, but like kind of talking about it now, like kind of moving around the house. I do that a lot too. You know what I mean? I won't stay in one place too long, so I can't get stuck in any one particular like scenario. You know what I mean? Yeah. I definitely do that. So I don't know which strategy that falls under, but that is definitely
keep busy. Keep busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they need another drink. I gotta go. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll be right back. I'll catch up with you just a second. Like, just keep moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
I love that one. Yeah, keep busy.
Yeah. All right, last strategy, debrief. So follow up on family events by debriefing with someone you love and trust, like another family member a friend or a therapist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you got to get with your cousins and like complain about aunt and uncle so-and-so and grandma was being crazy and like whatever, or if you got to call a friend, you know, I might call Ryann after, you know, Christmas dinner and be like, that was a fucking shit show or whatever the case may be. Might check in with my therapist if it gets real crazy. We'll see. But I was like, oh yeah, debrief. That's true.
Right.
Just like got to vent out a little bit, especially if you're trying to keep your lid on, you know, even though they say to lose control, not in the way that we probably want to. So if you got to let some of that steam out, call a friend, call someone you trust. They probably have some shit to tell you too. So,
and that's so true. We've talked about this before, especially with someone that you trust, obviously is kind of the key there. It has to be somebody, you know, maybe a little bit far removed or just somebody even, within the space that has shared experiences, but also knows that like this shit's kind of crazy, right? Like our family's got our issues. But I will say we've talked about this before. Whereas, you know, like we're like, for example, you know, the Monday after a holiday, you know, obviously at work, there's all these social norms. Oh, what'd you do for the holidays? Everyone loves to talk about the holidays after, you know, when in reality, they are not the same for everyone, but that's still a very common social question to ask, right? Oh, what'd you do? Where did you go? Did you go home for the holidays? Oh, you didn't? You know, it's like that. Oh, sad for you. And I'm like, I'm great, actually. you know,
listen up here, Deborah. You don't want to hear about the time that my two aunts got in a fist fight and then my uncle ran down the street without any clothes on. Like, you really want to know how my holidays went? That's true. That could be an intrusive question.
No, it really can, right? And again, and I understand why we follow the social norms that we do, right? Because it can lead to easy conversation, right? But the answers that you give your coworkers should be like the watered down version after you've already vented to your friends. Right?
Yes.
So get it out with the people that you trust, because we've talked about that. Like if we go on a trip with our family, you know, or like we go to a family holiday or something, what I tell my coworker is not going to be what I tell Morgan. Morgan isn't going to even hear about the good parts, because I'm like, yeah, there were good parts, but like, let me fucking tell you about how my uncle told me I had hate in my heart because I don't like Obama. Okay. I mean, that's the reality. If you don't like Obama, you're going to be told that you have hate in your heart. If you are Black in America, you have hate in your heart if you don't like Obama. And I'm just telling you the truth because it's going to happen at a family event. And you need someone to debrief about. You need someone to debrief and tell that, hey, am I crazy? And I mean, you might be also.
You could be both for sure, but
but you still don't have to like Obama is the point. So
true, but have someone you can do that with.
Yes.
Debrief, let it out.
Yeah.
And all that's to say, if those strategies are not going to work, or if your family dynamic is different, what can you do instead of visit family altogether? Okay. So here's a few options that I found. An article in Bustle. It had some descriptions, but I just took down some brief notes because I thought these were some good alternatives.
Okay.
So check out museums, which depends on where you live, but museums always interesting. Not everyone's going to go on their off day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So maybe this would be a good time to go check it out, go somewhere new you haven't been to. Next one is craft or pick up a new hobby.
Okay.
So if you always wanted to knit but just couldn't find the time, maybe skip the holidays. Order some takeout, get your yarn, and get to town. Volunteer. So one point to bring up is a lot of people volunteer on the holidays. You know, that's the time they get the most volunteers. So this article did say maybe volunteer around the holidays. Don't go on Christmas Day. That's when they have the most help, which is great, but they need help all year round. Right. So if you have some time the weekend before or a few days around Christmas or after, or if you celebrate a different holiday, whatever the time is for you, if that's something you'd want to do, maybe think about looking prep days before or something like that. Visit a nursing home.
Okay.
So there are a lot of nursing homes that don't get visitors around this time, or there are different people at those homes who don't get visitors. And so that might be a nice thing to do if you still want to spend time with people, but you're not sure where to go or don't have any specific place to be. That seemed like a really nice one.
Yeah.
And then I liked this one. It was spend some time with other faiths. So Christmas is obviously predominantly the celebrated holiday in the US. Definitely the one that we see most on ads, TV, you know, gotta get those Black Friday sales and all that. But there are people of many, many faiths here and around the world. And so if you don't have anything to do, there are a lot of different faiths you can explore. And this doesn't mean to go exploit and like, you know, come like bombard someone's other tradition. But I found a good example. So the Museum on Eldridge Street in Chinatown, New York offers frequent synagogue tours on Christmas Day. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was a good way, broaden your horizon, see what other people are doing. Right. I did really like that one.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, yeah, I agree. Even talking about holidays in a way that, you know, romanticizes or idealizes the way that we look at holidays here. I know the big one for me is, you know, for so many years feeling so inadequate about, you know, Christmas gifts and feeling like, you know, this time of the year is like some time that I should be saving up for other people to enjoy some gift that they're probably going to throw away in a month or something. And the reality is that, yeah, that's something that is really, really, really tough to break socially. It's very tough to get out of the mindset that you should be buying things for other people around that holiday. Because the reality is that means that, you know, you've even had the privilege of getting gifts on holidays, you know what I mean? And so that's something that I do try to actively go against. I'm not saying that like, I'm just like, oh no, don't buy anything. But at the same time, like, you know, don't put yourself out. Don't stress yourself out over the standards that people will impress upon you, because all it's going to do is let you down and let them down as well. You know, it's only going to lead to like this really kind of like ugly relationship. And it is unfortunate because, you know, there are a lot of beautiful holidays in a lot of other religions that you can enjoy just the same. It does not have to be this grandiose, oh, you know, this is the one time of the year that I need to splurge and show people I love them. Guess what? Love is year round. And you know what I mean? And it should be even more so around those tough times, because in reality, yeah, a lot of people don't have the ability to see their family members and like that. So if you are still a part of, you know, the majority of people that still go home for Christmas, or, you know, still go to visit family for Christmas, know that you are a gift, right? Like you sent me that like funny meme about, you know, like I'm going to wrap myself up in wrapping paper because I'm a gift. But know that it is a gift to be around you. And if people don't know that, well, maybe you need to make some new traditions for yourself, you know, and that might be tough at first, but it'll be worth it in the end, you know, because it's a privilege to be around each other. And if you know, if the people that you grew up around don't see that, you know, hopefully you at least have one other person to maybe spend that time with. And if you don't, like Morgan said, you know, you can go to a nursing home, you can volunteer. There are many other ways that you can spend that time and still, you know, and still have that feeling of this is a holiday that I can enjoy. So
yeah, absolutely. That's really true. Yeah. So let's wrap it up with some holiday horror stories.
Okay.
So if you are going home for the holidays, hopefully it won't be as bad as it has been for some of these other people. So trusty old BuzzFeed had a lot of funny stories. So I just picked out a handful so that we could wrap up our episode with some pretty rough stuff here. Okay. So first one. Okay, so this person is writing and it's not their family. It was they were visiting a friend and went home with that friend for the holidays. Okay, so one of her friends. So her uncle got caught cheating at the dinner table when his phone buzzed and her aunt saw the incoming text. She started screaming and crying, throwing her dinner at him, etc. My friend dared to laugh, so her aunt then turned on her and started insulting her weight and how she'd never get a man. So then the mom stands up and starts to yell, and the whole family gets involved. The aunt starts to insult everyone, calling them backstabbers and lowlifes, and then calls the friend who's visiting an intruding bitch. And that's how the holiday dinner went for them. And she says it's safe to say I never went home with that friend for the holidays again.
You know, this might just be my own trauma, but something about like it actually ending as worse as like at the worst kind of thing as possible is almost like relieving. Like, yeah, finally it fucking happened. Can we go now? You know what I mean? Like we already ate. Now the rest of the food is on his face. Can we leave? Like, have we done Christmas? Like,
right?
We've reached the climax. You know what I mean? Like it's after sex. Like, all right, I'm good. It's late. Can we go? Cool. All right.
Right. So I know, and I would be the friend like who laughed. Not that it would be funny for my family member to be cheated on or betrayed, but that's just kind of how I do in bad scenarios. I just know myself, and I would be that friend. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
because in reality, the friend probably thought she was gonna maybe like lighten the mood. Like, oh, this is crazy, but like, can we laugh at it? You know? And she was like, no, and you can have some food on your face too.
Right. And you're never going to find a man. So, yeah. Laughing at inappropriate moments. Definitely. Someone was telling me a story about how their hamster died and then their other hamster died like 2 days later. And I laughed. And I know Ryann just made, I know. I'm definitely admitting, don't come for me. I don't think it's funny when people's pets die. I really don't. I know those are your family. I'm not saying that. It was just like a weird coincidence and, the situation overall, not that they lost their pets. I don't think that part is funny.
Fair enough.
Moving on. Okay. Next one. So this person says, my grandmother went out to the garage to smoke after Christmas dinner and intentionally slammed her arm in the car door, breaking her wrist in the process. Why? She wanted to see if her pain medication was working. Needless to say, her experiment caused us to spend the rest of Christmas in the emergency room. Which, for her to go do that, I'd say the pain medication was probably working.
Yeah. Yeah, again, there's probably more things going on than just that, but
true.
But again, maybe being in the emergency room and being able to just sit back and observe all the chaos that actually goes on during holidays might give you some perspective. Like, you know what? It's okay, Grandma. Let's go have a smoke.
Right.
I'll hold the cigarette for you.
Right. Obviously... You're like, thanks for breaking your wrist, Grandma. You really cut the tension there. It was getting, dinner was rough and now we have stuff to open presents or something, So props to Grandma on that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. So this person says, when I was a toddler, we were supposed to go to Savannah to visit my mom's family for Christmas. My dad said he couldn't go because he lost his wallet. It turned out that and this is in the quote, some prostitutes he had slept with took his money, identification cards, and all of his cocaine that he'd been carrying. We ended up going to Georgia without him. Unsurprisingly, my parents are not together anymore, and I'm estranged from my father. So, right. Big family dynamic shift after that one.
Yeah, that's I mean,
which part would you like to address?
Dad, in that situation, if you want to, you could just go to the next story. I literally
that was the last one. No, I didn't want to pull too many out. Yeah, we could just talk about all this craziness that people are dealing with around the holidays, but
yeah,
I didn't want to bombard us with all that.
Right, I know. I mean, honestly, that's probably the reality of the boundaries that people need to set for themselves. Like, you can use the word estranged, but the reality is that you set a boundary. Like, you know what, that situation, last straw. Like I gotta
She was
go.
a toddler.
Oh.
But yes, I know what you're saying. I understand.
But no, yeah. So that is probably how, I mean, again, it's like reading it is kind of just like, oh wow, that happened. But the time that it took for all of that to transpire, that's a hefty one. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So have you had any crazy family, any memorable family holidays that were comparable to any of these people? You don't have to get into details to protect the
this might be,
the unnamed.
This might be where I get kind of tripped up. This might be where I get stuck and feel like I don't know how to talk about anybody in my family without like oh, like that's awkward. Like family is so weird in so many ways. Like I could talk about old friends that I've had, but family's forever. They're still my family. You know what I mean?
You're still gonna have to go to the next Christmas dinner and they're gonna be like, hey Ryann, remember when you like put all my shit on blast on your podcast?
Yeah. Like, thanks for subscribing.
I know. Yes. Oh my God.
You know what? I'll go with that because if they're listening, they're a fan. So I'll say the craziest situation that I remember growing up. I don't know if this was a family holiday, but we were at somebody's house or were we at a restaurant? I don't know. My aunt had a boyfriend and he was giving her a massage on her back, but he was pounding on her back as if he was playing the drums. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I'll never forget her like moving her back to like get I can't even explain it still. Like in my mind, it's like, was that a real moment? But it was a real moment. And they were just having like this whole like massage experience. But I was just like, I'm young and I know that this is so odd and inappropriate, but it's not like sexually inappropriate. I'm like, are you okay? Like, this seems like does this hurt? Is this a turn on? Should I know what a turn on is at this age? I don't.
Many questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not even that bad. I mean, our family stuff's gotten pretty.
I mean, I'm not going to get into all of it, Morgan.
Oh yeah. Okay. How about like an awkward? I guess that would be like an awkward holiday event to remember. That was going to be my next question, but this story might fall into that category.
Yeah, awkward. Yeah, more so awkward, but yes, I mean, we've had families storm off in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, that was
drunken fights. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had all the normal trauma.
Right. all the classics. That's
yearly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All the classics, yeah, for sure. You're like the beating on the back, like the drum. That was the weirdest one. So
yeah, exactly. What about you? What can you share?
So when I was thinking about this, one of the worst, like, it was embarrassing for me, I guess. I don't know. It was, so I was 7-ish and my sister got a bike for her birthday. And then there was another bike there. And so, of course, I was like, oh, we both got bikes. Oh my God, So I get on this bike. I'm like, loving this bike. Oh my God, I got a bike too. So excited. It was Batman, which I was like, okay, sure, Batman. Yeah. And so then they were like, Morgan, that bike is for your cousin. So I had to get off the bike and I was just like,
your cousin's got like a bat suit on. He's like, excuse me.
Yeah. He's like, she's on my shit. What's going on? But it was like, oh my God. I was like so embarrassed. I just like, yeah.
Yeah, that's so awkward.
It was so awkward. I know.
That's hilarious, though, especially as a kid, because I can totally, in your kid mind, like, I mean, I'm not with love with Batman, but I'll get used to Batman. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You're like reasoning with yourself. All the logic makes sense. Yeah, you're like, this tracks. I saw Batman once. Like, okay.
Yeah, he was in my McDonald's Happy Meal. Like, my mom must have picked up on that. See, my mom loves me. And then she's like, yeah, get off the bike. And you're like, earth shattering.
Right.
That's hilarious though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. But we've had all the fights too. Yeah, all the wildness as well. So nobody's immune, people. We get it.
No. And that's the thing. Yeah, you're going to do it wrong. We've all done it wrong before. But the reality is that you just got to do your best to try and get through, just those few weeks that, especially here in America, right, where there's just a lot of attention put on, all the values that, what a quote unquote perfect family should have. And the reality is that most of us did not grow up in, even just a normal, whatever you'd call a normal family. We have so many different experiences. And the reality is that, and I'm doing this for myself personally, is that I'm trying to create some new healthy associations with holidays that aren't focused on money, that aren't focused on traveling or doing all the things that we're burdened to do in our society. I'm trying to focus on, I have a few days off to myself. We don't get enough days off as it stands right now. If you're a full-time working person, you don't get enough time to just relax yourself. So if Christmas for you looks like turning on the TV and popping some popcorn, hey, let yourself have it. You don't have to cook a grandiose meal. You don't have to, serve others and do everything. If Christmas for you is picking up your favorite candy and, sitting on the bed, scrolling through Instagram, you know what? You'll get your feel of Christmas on Instagram too.
That's true. That's really, really true. So hopefully you guys will take a little something with you to survive the holidays or make a new plan to do your own thing, whatever works for you. Either way, we're here for you. So let us know your crazy family stories. If you want to shoot us a DM, we'd love to hear. On Instagram, we're at Wrong the Podcast. Of course, save, subscribe, review, tell your friends, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube for the visual conversation. Thank you so much, as always, to our awesome interpreters from ProBonoASL. And other than that, I guess happy holidays.
Right. Happy holidays, and we'll see you on the other side.
We'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye.